late? Well, hello, I'm Drew Wash, this Domain to Profit. If you are joining me on Restream, just know that this is a live show and is best consumed live because the domain names we're going to look at today, as with every Monday at 3 p.m., except for next one, but wait till later and I'll tell you about that. But this live show, we look at domain names that expire this week, meaning if you watch this show at the end of the week, most likely you've missed out on all the domain names. So the knowledge, the information that we share about why we're choosing the domain names, which ones are the best ones, you can use that, add it to your wisdom, and gain some experience about looking through expiring domain names yourself, but the domain name's gone. And realistically, I think part of the fun is being able to potentially get a great domain name. So basically watch live. And the nice thing about live is you also get to interact with the community that is here. And they're already in the chat harassing me right now for being a minute late. Really? Come on, Matt. I know you've just been holding back, waiting to harass me. So congratulations, you've had that opportunity. So one thing, last week somebody mentioned that the sound was cutting in and out a lot. I've made some changes. Hopefully it improves the sound, but I'm going to continue to look into it because I do want to. I'm already a difficult enough guy to understand at times. I don't need sound issues too. You know what I mean? So, okay, well, we're going to be looking through expiring domain names, and we're also looking a little bit at that domain name that expired last week that went through auction and sold for over $300,000. That is 801.com. That domain name sold at auction, and as of right now, it doesn't appear that auction actually ended correctly. So we'll see if we actually hear more on that during the course of this broadcast. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. So the question for you is, let's say you get into these domain names and you see a domain name that can be life-changing for you, which there's many domain names that can be life-changing for you. And you alter your life and you do all the things necessary to get the funding together to be able to seize the opportunity that is this expiring domain name. And you go through the auction process, you go through the stress of the ending of that auction where you're bidding and somebody's bidding against you and you finally win that auction and you see the number and it's at the absolute peak of what you're even willing to pay. Have you actually, is that domain name now yours? Well, as the buyer of 801.com might be finding out, and as I have found out on numerous occasions, as well as many of you who maybe participate in expiring domain auctions, it does not mean that a domain name is yours. In theory, I guess it means your first right of refusal, but we'll check in with that domain name as well. So then, of course, what we do every week, we look through expiring domain names. We go to a big-ass list of domain names, and we look through the ones that are going to expire this week, and we find the best ones that are made for development. Development specifically, we are looking for a domain name that is that blank real estate, that internet real estate that we can build something on that will be an engine of revenue and world change, and of course, fund your future, fund for your family, your friends, whatever it is that you're looking for funds to make your life better. So there we go. Thanks for being here. Drew Wash, Domain to Profit. I'll see you just after this. Okay, I'm hearing a little popping on the music, but hopefully the music is just a thing, no big deal. Checking in with everybody that I see popping in the chat. Let me scroll all the way up top here. Bill, nice to have you here. I've seen you around a couple times, so I appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming back weekly, as well as you, Michael. Bill beat you to the hello. So, and then Matt, thanks for coming in. Only an acre as well. Lots of regulars coming in, chiming in, and then bringing up the harassment here. You know, I mean, like 1 minute late. Was it even a minute? I mean, maybe your clock's fast. You know, can we prove that I'm late? I don't know. And then we got Fred here, which I believe Fred's going to be in Austin for NamesCon. Yep. I am heading to Austin for NamesCon as well, which is going to create a little bit of logistical havoc next Monday. Next Monday is going to end up being most likely a pre-recorded show. So we've only done that a couple times over the course of 109 weeks of Domain to Profit, but next week will likely be a pre-recorded show of some sort, unless I'm going to be driving for whatever reason. My family's flying in at the end of NamesCon. I'm excited to have them there. Well, my wife's going to be there for the actual conference in Austin. And then my daughter will be flying in that weekend so we can enjoy Austin after the conference. And then for whatever reason, for some family quality time, we decided we're going to drive back to Cincinnati from Austin. So yeah, so needless to say, I'll be on the road. And while I could do a show possibly from the passenger seat of a car or pulling over or something, I don't know. I think I'd prefer to just pre-record a show. So we'll see, though. We'll see. And Domain Explorer, nice to have you on here as well. Thanks for popping in and hanging out with us. And Steve, welcome. Yeah, I bought that a couple weeks ago, bought a domain name over on Reddit, and Steve must have saw that. And Steve, nice to have you here. Glad that you're joining us, as well as Stuart. Nice to have you as well. And I do see the note about lagging. Hopefully it improves. We're going to figure something out if we do have some tech issues still. Like, it's not a bandwidth thing. Like, my bandwidth says it's like through the roof. So it's some other tech issue, which I will figure out. So, and then L Couch, see, hopefully I could just, anyhow, it's on the phone all day in High Bill. So, okay, lots of people. Thank you for all coming in. Thanks for all for chatting. You know, so this Domain to Profit is as much about opportunity as it is anything else. I got into domain names. In fact, actually, just this morning, I was on a Zoom call with somebody, and they were like, hey, you know, I watched one of your YouTube videos, and like, I don't understand how somebody can be so excited about domain names. And that, of course, got me kind of crazy, because I am excited about domain names. How can you not be excited about domain names when they have done what they have for me, which has provided an opportunity to make all my dreams come true? Developing domain names, like, seriously, just buying the right domain names at auction, like we talk about here each week, and then developing them with first a simple website, and then increasing the value that you can provide your customers on that website over time, like we have done with towing.com, transportreviews.com, and others. It's allowed me to provide for my family, as well as the families of my team, as well as just, well, earn millions of dollars over the course of the years. So, I mean, pretty exciting stuff. So I bring it here to you so you can get excited, or more importantly, so you can see the opportunities and find them for yourselves. I mean, what would you do if we could find a domain name today, which I've already seen a couple. We have a couple good domains that have come up. What if you could just turn one of these domain names into $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month? Like, what would that do for you? You know, it may not even allow you to quit your day job or something, but, you know, wouldn't you be a heck of a lot more likely to take a chance on a more expensive domain name, or to chase a hobby or a passion of yours in a way that currently maybe you can't in your existing corporate job or whatnot? I mean, things happen. I remember the first time that I made a sale online, like, what that did to my soul. Like, I was sleeping. Actually, most likely this was back in college. I was probably out drinking with friends and would make money on the internet. And like once you do that, once you have money, somebody paying you money and money being deposited into your account while you're sleeping, while you're out with friends, it changes you. You see the world differently. I hope you've experienced it at some point already in your internet development journey. But if not, just know I want you to experience that change. I want you to realize how amazing you are in how the domain name, the right domain name, if you just be picky and choose the right domain name for you, and then just do some basics. Bring value through that domain name to the people that already will value that domain name, like towing companies on towing.com, or well, we'll talk about some domain names here in a little bit. We can do this, you can do this, and basically you're awesome, and a domain name will help you unlock that, as it has for me, and so on. Not that I'm saying I'm awesome, but domain names make me feel pretty awesome. I mean, I do own DJs.com. Can I get any cooler than owning DJs.com? I'm the biggest nerd. Anyhow. Okay, well, let's head on over to the screen capture here. So this is expireddomains.net. This is where we're going to spend most of our time. Expireddomains.net is a free site. This is a free site that you can set up your account. And let me go here, toss up this. So this down here is the website that you can go to find out the filters that we use to look through expiring domains. Essentially, you set up your free account here on expireddomains.net, and then you can come in and set up the filters. There's just 7 of them that we have set up. That creates and grabs all those domain names from GoDaddy's expired auction list. And now we have, well, 94,000 domain names that are potentially the domain names that maybe they have something to do with a passion that you already have, and they can unlock that opportunity for you to change your life with it. So I'll walk you through some of this. So one of the things, once you set up the filters, you will want to, we can order by valuation, or we can order by CPC, which is a column that you have to add using the columns, which, there we go, right up in here, all the way up top up there. That is the columns where you can add CPC. For the sake of simplicity, we typically start with valuation. Now, by valuation, you hear valuation, you think, oh, that's how much a domain name's worth. No, the domain name is worth whatever somebody's willing to pay. Just like with that domain name we talked about at the top of the show, 801.com. How much is it worth? Well, as of last week, before the auction ended, it was already up over $250,000. And the auction ended with the top bid being $313,000. $313,000 for that domain name. And then as of right now, actually, let me share this out. This is what is currently the status of it. It's saying auction canceled, which, well, that usually means that the domain name was somehow pulled. And by pulled, I mean, even though the auction ended, the domain name appears to not actually be going to the person that won that auction. So imagine if you did all that immense amount of effort. I can't even imagine the effort, the work it takes to get the financing together for over $300,000. You go, you get the top bid, buy 801.com, and then it appears that it's not actually even going to end up in their account. So some weird other things. Let me just show you real quick on this. 801.com. This is the current domain name page for that, which I have saved from the auction last week. But so weird. I'm not sure what's going on here. When you type in 801.com, typically that goes at the landing page. But for whatever reason, you can see hopefully up in that URL browser or up in the browser URL, it's actually going to 801aad.com. I'm not sure what's going on there. So I have a post out on Twitter kind of looking for answers, trying to see what's going on. But that looks like something that somebody manually had to go in and change. So I'm not sure if there is drama, behind the scenes drama happening with 801.com. But it appears to be what's happening. So there you go. Okay, 801.com, that's old news. So now we are over to this expiring domain name list. So valuation, is that what it's worth? No, that is not what it's worth. That is simply GoDaddy saying, here's kind of an importance of this domain name. It's important enough to say it's worth $5,000, $10,000, and so on. If you think of it as the actual value, you'll go broke quick because domain names, they don't know. This is a mathematical guess more than anything else. So just if you're new to domain names out there and you are kind of thinking like, hey, I don't really know how much to spend on a domain name. Should I use the GoDaddy evaluation? The answer is no, absolutely not. The only way that I have found that the valuation is helpful is through expired domains. You can search for domains and then order by the valuation just by clicking on it. And let me zoom out a little. You'll see that what we've done is ordered to where the domain names that valuation says is high, those appear on top, just right over the shoulder here. And then the domain names that are worth less appear on the bottom. It just helps us keep things moving on the show here. But you'll notice as we get going, we're going to skip over a lot of these domain names that GoDaddy says are the most valuable domain names. And the reason why we do that is because they're not actually the most valuable. They're not the most valuable. It's just kind of a hunch, a guess that GoDaddy makes, and that's exactly how you should treat it. So just keep that in mind. That is an important thing, important lesson that if you learn it through money by thinking that number means something regarding money, you're going to waste a lot of money. And well, I've been there. I've done that before. So take my word for it. Buy domain names because you know it's worth something. So let me just ask, how do you get experience valuing a domain name if you can't use that valuation and maybe you don't necessarily have the experience of determining a value of a domain name? Well, there's a couple different ways that we're going to do that. We do that each week. One of them is using a tool called SpyFu, which I actually, because I don't have it open currently. SpyFu is going to be a tool that we can use to look at a number of keywords, the number of times a domain name is searched. I'm sorry, the keywords of the domain name. So if you look at a domain name, drop the .com, that's going to show you how many times that keyword set that is found in that domain name is searched. And then even more important than that, it's going to show you how many times or how many people are willing to pay to reach that keyword. So this is SpyFu here, and this is one of the tools that we use to help us determine whether a domain name has value to the marketplace. And it also helps us determine content, what we would build on that site, lots of great information to help you out, which you'll see some interesting stuff on there. So, but the other one that we don't talk about a lot here, but is vital to those people that ask me, how much is this domain name worth? What's the value of this domain name? Is literally NameBio, which just, they track how much a domain name is worth. How do they do that? All the past sales. When a domain name is sold at auction or a reported private party, it goes into this database. So you can see lots of past data in NameBio.com. So for example, when I bought autotowing.com, it was at an auction, and look, boom, right here. You can see this right here, autotowing.com. I bought that back in 2006. over on Snap Names. And let's see, what was the price? I paid $8,180 for it. So if you had that data, let's say that you saw autotowing.com up for expired auction again. Well, you would be able to see that it has sold in the past for $8,000. Does that mean it's worth $8,000? I don't know. But at least you have that data point. Someone literally paid that money, in this case me, to get that domain name. So if you find cartowing.com or a similar domain name that has similar SpyFu data about keywords and so on, you could pretty much assume that, you know, if you could buy it for less than $8,000, there's probably some margin there for you to sell or build on. Make sense? Make sense? So that NameBio is really a very good tool. Both SpyFu and NameBio are two tools that I pay for and use nearly weekly. So you know, if you need that experience on how to come up with the price of a domain name, NameBio is probably the most helpful tool. So, okay, let's get to some domain names. We're already into this, and let's see what opportunities are out there. The people that own these domain names are letting them expire for whatever reason. We never really know. In some cases, maybe they've passed away and didn't have a succession plan, so the domain name ended up expiring because maybe nobody even knew they owned it. A lesson to be learned there, as well as just sometimes it just expires. They lose track of them, whatever it could be. It's happened to me. It's probably happened to you. Don't let it happen, but their loss is our opportunity. Let's see what they are. Wealth Plus, Gaming Hub. I know that Matt, who's in the chat, has been excited about Gaming Hub a bit. The only thing about Gaming Hub is it is an enom domain name, which you can see that behind my head here. Enom domain names are very similar to that 801 domain name. A lot of times, if you bid on a domain name coming from enom, the domain name gets pulled back. In fact, let's see what's going on with that just for the sake of it. You can still bid on them, and you could probably say this with me as of this point. If you're going to bid on a domain name, especially if it is an enom domain name, wait until the absolute last moment, which would be about 5 minutes and 10 seconds left. That is when you bid on the domain name, because you do not want to pass on information to the person that's losing this domain name, because what's going to happen is they're going to renew it last minute, and they do this just to find out what people are willing to pay for the domain. So $1,500 ends in 2 days, so it's still currently going. So don't be the person bidding $1,500 for that domain name until about 6 minutes left. So just keep that in mind. Yep, and Steve, I see you mentioning Carpools, which is exactly where I am going next. That's one of the domain names I have pulled up on the thumbnail for this, and that's carpools.com. Carpool.com. And Steve is asking singular versus plural. Singular versus plural. What's better? I don't know. I don't know, Steve, but we're going to find out. So currently, 4 days left, $980 left. I always advocate for not bidding until just over 5 minutes left. You do not want to show your hand. You do not want to invite people like me to join the auction. I keep an eye on this stuff. If I see domains getting bids, I go and research the domain, see if it's something I need to be bidding on also. So let's go check out Carpools. So what we do with SpyFu is we drop the .com, we get the words out of that domain name. So carpools.com is Carpools. We do a search, and SpyFu does what they do. SpyFu does what they do. And you can see 320 searches for Carpools. You can see over here, Carpool is 2,700. So singular seems to be the better one so far, but let's see. So we look at, in fact, let's go ahead and do a Control F on my keyboard right now, I'm hitting Control F, and then I'm typing Carpools with an S. So what's going to happen with that is it's going to highlight, it's not going to just show the similar keywords, which is what this is showing here. It's going to highlight our exact phrase, carpools, showing up here. So you can see carpools here. You can see carpools near me, which, as you likely know with me, I love to see near me in the similar searches. The reason why I like seeing it is it's because people are looking for localized data as at that point. They're looking for stuff around them, which means we get to implement some well, pretty good strategies as far as finding customers. Instead of finding one customer nationwide, limiting your ability to generate revenue at a larger scale, once you see that near me, now you can think, okay, well, I can find maybe a way to make money from every location around the US, in my case. We talk about the local Legion 300, Local Legion 300 being the strategy that we implement, which is just find one way to make money from one customer in each of the top 300 cities around the United States, which there's over 300, like 315 cities in the US with over 100,000 as their population. So that means that there's some pretty big cities out there. So can you find one customer in each of the top 300 cities? I'd like to think so. There's some competition out there to do that. So maybe you can get $10. That'd be $3,000 a month. $20. It depends on the service that you're going to provide and what the purpose of what you're doing is going to be. For carpools, I don't know what that would be, to be quite honest. It sounds like you'd have to probably get pretty elaborate. You'd probably have to create a service that is doing some matchmaking. I don't know. I don't know where the money is in carpools. So if you have an idea for carpools, you toss it in the chat or toss it over on community.dtp.tv. That is our community page. So maybe you have an idea. I don't know much about carpools. I felt like they made a push back in the day. Nowadays, they're just, at least around me, they're not as important, even with gas prices high as what it is. And also, there's no advertisers. So this is one of the ways that we can kind of see if there's money to be made here. There's no advertisers, but the cost per click has been $1.14 in the past. So there's money there in theory, but there's not a lot of people paying. I like to see over $2 cost per click and 10 or more advertisers. That means there's blood in the water, man. People are competing. They're paying like as much as they can. They're trying to outcompete each other. And that competition is what spurs on a startup or an entrepreneur to say, hey, I'll take a chance on carpools.com. So, that's a lot of times people are asking, how do you get those first customers? How do you get somebody to pay? Well, that's part of it, is there needs to be competition. Why do they need you? You may not even know right away, but if there's competition, what you can do is reach out to those people and say, hey, I own carpools.com. How can I use it to benefit you? And have some conversations and create value for those customers. It might just be a listing, an ad, a directory page, a frequently asked questions that features their company. Who knows? But they will. They'll tell you. So there you go. And yeah, that's actually, I love that. Carpool karaoke. I like that. I like that. Andy, thank you for sharing it out. Out in the chat over on YouTube, you will find this link, which takes you to our community page, which we are currently using, community.dtp.tv. That will take you there. So we're currently using that. We're considering other options, but that's good enough for now. Some more domain names. I wish I had a home run for carpools. I like the domain name. Not enough to probably bid on it as of this point. So one of the things that really bugged me this week was so many of the best domain names, the domain names that got my attention, they're enum domains. So highteNsion.com, it's happening.com. I love that phrase. It's happening. Isn't that from like a horror movie, like a Poltergeist or something? It's happening. I don't know. But those are enom domain names. So don't really want to talk about them much because, well, they're likely not going to end at the auction, but they are good domain names, at least from a marketing perspective. So another one potentially would be Time Away. That's a Wild West domain name. I don't know. Second Buy, if you wanted to run a thrift shop or maybe a resale type platform, Second Buy sounds like an interesting domain name for it. Oh, is it there? Yeah, there. It's happening. They're there. They're here. Oh, wait, it's a line. It's something's happening. If somebody can name the movie that Something's Happening comes from, it's going to drive me nuts until I come up with it. Specialty retail. There's a level of a domain name that I feel like it's almost too generic. Specialty retail kind of hits that. What specialty retail? What's it? What is that? It's too specialized. I don't know. But I do kind of like gamingapps.com. Let's go ahead and click on this one a little bit. It's in the sequel, Fred says. Maybe. So gaming apps ending in 5 days, $1,500 currently. I have this one on my watch list. I don't know what the heck I don't know if I like this domain name all that much. I don't know if there's any money behind it. I mean, it's already going for a lot, but I'm guessing that's because there's a lot of people that, like Matt in the chat, they like is it singular or plural? It's plural. So they want to enter into the gaming industry. I get that. We all want to work in industries that we already love. For me, that's travel. So I look for travel domain names. So in this case, 480 searches. Scrolling down, I mean, we have 9 people competing for this keyword. So there's something happening there. It's happening. Well, there is something happening indeed, where 9 people are paying. So we're close to double digits on that. But cost per click is 76 cents. So there's just something's happening, but it's really not getting my attention too much. But it has somebody's attention. They're already up over $1,500 currently. What would you put on that? I'm guessing a list of gaming apps or something. I just don't it might be fun to build, but it sounds more like something you would be developing because you love it and you want to have fun at it. It wouldn't be something that I could see easily, unless you put a ton into it. It's not going to make over $1,000 a month. It seems like almost more of a blog or a content play. And by content play, I mean you're putting content in the world and you're going to make money off of advertisements and partnerships, which is it's hard work. It's hard, nothing against hard work. It's just, I was just talking to my team this morning. I want to work hard once, develop a feature, put it up on a website, and let that feature bring value to people forever. Where content is, let's build content. It's something that gets traffic for a week, 10 days, hopefully longer, but realistically, it does fade. So I'm just not much of a content person. Oh, yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. Matt is mentioning, yeah. Hey, guys, don't forget to like the video. So if you're still watching right now, I very much appreciate you. I see lots of people out there. I appreciate all the comments, chats, everything happening over on the YouTube chat especially. Make sure you like the video. And if you have not subscribed, make sure to hit subscribe as well. I greatly appreciate it. And liking while we're here live together also kind of brings in new people. And you might think, why would we want new people? We want to keep you to ourselves, Drew. No, we want domain names to matter. And in fact, that is today's theme. This is an interesting segue, but today's theme is like domain names are like I think the only way that we can compete with Google, like I got into domain names. Because when I was looking at the industries I was in, I realized I was spending all my time on search engine optimization. All my time was going into showing up on top of Google, and I was working in the auto transport industry at that point. And I was kind of like, something else has to change. Like, I don't want to be reliant on Google. And this was, 20 years ago nearly. And I was like, I need a path to the auto transport brokerage I was helping out with at the time that's not based on search engine optimization. And that's when it's one of the things that got me into domain names, because I figured if I had a great domain name, at least there would be some type-in traffic or some momentum to get business for that service right off the bat. And I was right. And thank goodness I started to learn those lessons early on, because it's allowed me to add more and more domain names to where now, yes, Google matters. They're giant. They're freaking huge. They're so huge that if you don't suck up to them by paying them time and money, you very well could just disappear into like nothing. They'll take your traffic and your livelihood, which isn't that scary? Like that's scary to me. I get scared about that idea, and for most people, that fear drives them to ignore it or to just double down and spend more time on Google. Maybe, I mean, the amount of time and money people spend just trying to appease Google is just mind-boggling to me. But the question is that the best way? Shouldn't we be fighting? Like, shouldn't we be creating a path to small businesses, to the great content in the world? Can't we create a path that doesn't revolve around Google? Isn't that important? It's important enough to me. Like, I don't want a central company controlling all that data in the value, and also being a gatekeeper to all the small businesses of the world, which right now small businesses have to pay the man. They have to pay Google just to get business from the internet. And you're like, oh, Drew, not all the stuff on the internet's ads. It may not be ads, even if they don't pay for ads. How much time do you think the average small business has to spend to make sure they have a search engine friendly website, stay up to date, to rank well? Yeah, a lot. They spend a lot of money and time just to rank well on Google, which, as you know, it's not okay. Like, shouldn't, anyhow. Okay, well, domain names are the only solution that I have found to allow all of us to not need Google. But it's up to us. It's up to you and me to find these domain names, these great domain names, and then develop something that does what the domain name says. I type in gaming apps. What do I find there? Gaming apps, a directory of them, a search engine of them, featured ones that are coming up, and so on. All of this stuff is vital, and it's not going to happen from one giant company. For the love of goodness, we need to prevent it from happening from one company. You need to seize the opportunity. I need to seize the opportunity, and we need to take these great domain names, the domain names that are already in your portfolio potentially, and develop them. That's my mission. That's what I'm out to do, and that's why I do this show, is to invite you to do it. I'm asking you to make money because it's important to me to know that Google is not the future of small business and the future of all of us. We need to do better, peeps. So there we go. Exactly. Stick it to the man. Stick it to Google. End rant for this week, I think. Express Movers. I want to say that we've seen that domain before. I like the domain name, good brand. Didn't we just see Express? I own an expresstowing.com. I own a couple other, like, it's a common transportation domain name. I'm definitely going to add that to my watch list if it allows me to. Are you going to allow me to, GoDaddy? No, you're going to make me log in right live. Everybody watching, yay. Let me guess, you're going to ask me for my two-factor authentication. No, they did not. Okay, here we go. So expressmovers.com, I'm guessing there's hundreds of companies called Express Movers in the US. So you could buy this and be a directory of companies called Express Movers. You could always buy it and resell it. Who knows? I'm guessing it's going to go for much more than that. Bid late right now. Somebody's already bidding over $100. I like that domain name. Not bad. That's a fun one, actually. So this is another one that's Wild West Domains. But look at that, thekitchensink.com. So I know a lot of weeks I say the word "the." You want to avoid "the" at the beginning of a domain name. A lot of times, if say you wanted Express Movers, you might, oh well, we'll just make it theexpressmovers.com, and they'll add a word "the" a lot of times at the beginning. I do not like that. It's a bad move most of the time. The one exception, well, the few exceptions are when the phrase that we all share with each other includes the word "the." And we've seen this with The Great Outdoors, thegreatoutdoors.com. That was a few weeks ago or a few months ago. The Kitchen Sink, same thing. Kitchensink.com, you'd expect maybe kitchen sinks for sale. But The Kitchen Sink, who knows? That could be a fun blog or whatever else where people go overboard on stuff because the phrase is the kitchen sink. They threw everything at it, including the kitchen sink or something like that. Could be some fun happening with there. China Bot, maybe. So the coding tools. This is one of my favorite domains this week, if I can get it. So I moved it up to the top of the list here, and that's codingtools.com. But it is an enom domain name, so I don't want to spend really much time on it. But what would you put on coding tools? I would put coding tools. Domains give you clues. Domains give you clues as to what I say. Domain names, the best domain names out there, they are a blank canvas, but it's kind of like really light on that canvas is like an outline. It's like a color by number. What would you put on coding tools? Coding tools. Like it's already there. It's already on the canvas. Now you just need to, take the red and paint in the red spots that are number one, and you make coding tools into a website. It's already telling you what to do. You can go look at SpyFu, see what questions people are asking and so on. Use that to generate the content. Currently $55. Do not bid on it till last minute, and that's assuming it actually finishes the auction. Let me add that to my watch list though, because if it wraps up, I'm going to be bidding on it. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, Matt's saying in chat that he likes it too. Anybody who deals with coding is going to like that one. We say it all the time. Hey, is there a coding tool that helps with this? Selling services, I don't like it. That's a weird way of saying it. Simple ways. See, look at all these domain. The fact that these domain names, a lot of them are kind of these secondary phrases, but they're all enom. It's probably from the same portfolio. They're just kind of testing the market. There seems to be a pattern happening there. So, here's one that I wanted to mention. Rentless.com. Rentless or rentless, depending on how you look at it. I read it as one word. I read it specifically as a domain name that is potentially a really good brand. So much so that you may have noticed up in my tabs, I have pulled up the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's search. So if you just go to Google, because they do help, especially when you have to search government stuff, because Lord knows the government doesn't make things easy to find. Go and do a search on Google for U.S. Patent and Trademark search. It's going to pull up this here or the test system. Click on it. You can come in and do a basic word marked search. Here you go. I'll just go ahead and do it because evidently I always do USPTO, which is going to pull that up and go here. Search trademark database. You'll find that in the. And so why am I doing this? Why am I showing you this? Because if you're going to mess with brand renewable domain names, rentless. It's not, I don't even know if that's a real word or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. It sounds like a brand. And because it sounds like a brand, then that means that it could be somebody's brand. And if it's a very protected trademark and you bought it, you could lose that domain name. So it's just something you want to kind of keep an eye out for. If it's very generic, then you're fine. Carpools, generic, you're going to be fine. But rentless.com, and it appears the government's website. Okay, we're back here clicking on basic word basic word search, less. So I'm just typing in the words, the phrase here, the domain name essentially, but without .com, just like we do over on SpyFu. Doing a search, and there's only one record currently that is using rentless in their terms, and it's this one here. It's just part of their long text. This is not a strong trademark. Just my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but I do look through this stuff a lot. Usually there's a lot more competition for a trademark than this. Looks pretty safe depending on what you're looking to do with it. Ask an attorney though. That's just my way of making sure you don't do something silly based on what I'm saying. Yeah, Matt's mentioning in the chat, which watch live if you want to see everything happening in the chat. Matt's mentioning that he did buy a trademark domain name. So you just got to watch out. Like it happens to the best of us. Common phrases and stuff. Like, for example, almost every year the domain name frisbee.com comes up for auction. And frisbee.com Frisbee is a trademark. Like, even though we all think of the discs as just anything, it's a brand. It's a trademark. So a lot of people make mistakes and waste thousands buying that domain name. Fashionmaker.com. I'm digging that. I like Fashion Maker. 405 currently, 1 day left in the auction. We're going to go over to Fashion, if I can spell it. I feel like my spelling has gotten better in the 109 weeks that we've been doing the show. I don't make as many typos. Yeah, we'll see. So fashioner.com, what's it look like? 44 monthly searches. That's not setting any records. Let's page down. We have 3 people paying to reach this. 60 cents is their bid. Let's go up. We'll do that Control F to type in and see what's happening. Okay. What is going on here? Okay. So I did a Control F, typed in Fashion Maker, which is the domain name we're looking at. Modern Fashion Maker in Muxtar. Not sure what that is. Not really seeing a whole lot happening with it, which is unfortunate. That means that the domain name doesn't have much. But just because there's not a whole lot of keyword data doesn't mean the domain name doesn't have a purpose. What do you think of? What's on that blank canvas that is fashionmaker.com? You know, my daughter, who's 7, who was just here just before the show, and Matt, part of why I was 1 minute late, she has these little like doll magnet things, and she can build fashion, and she puts together different outfits for those dolls and stuff, and then she can trace them and do all kinds of stuff. But like, fashion is a thing for many people that, you know, not for me. I'm a super plain guy when it comes to fashion. But realistically, fashion is important to so many people. Like creating a tool, creating services, putting people in contact with ways that they can be a fashion maker, or the tools to be like, how do you become a fashion maker? Boom, there you go. You know, it's a pretty good word for it. I'm guessing one of the things we talk about with domain names is best domain names validate you in that industry. They provide authority for the owner of that domain name and those that are on that domain name. if you were to call people in the fashion industry and be like, hey, I'm Drew with Fashionmaker.com, is that going to make them think that you matter to that industry? I'd say yes. Like, it sounds like a domain name that I'd be like, oh, Fashion Maker. I'm not familiar with what you guys do, but it sounds like something I probably should know. There you go. That's all you're looking for. You're looking for access, and that's one of the things that that he does. Yeah, I'll try to remember. I do forget a lot of times to go over the domain names, but fashionmaker.com. If you're into fashion, I'm sure you can come up with some pretty good business ideas. Feel free to share them over on the community.dtp.tv, or in the chat if you're up for that, or go and buy that domain and make something great on it. I'd love for that to happen too. And if you're always in the community, let us know what you're up to, because it's good stuff. Income Store, kind of like that. Kind of like that domain. Let's see. I'm guessing it's going for some money because it got my, yeah, there we go. 4 days left, $455 currently. What would you put on Income Store? If I'm not mistaken, there's already stores, maybe that Income Store, the check cashing places, I want to say, where you can borrow against your future checks and things like that. Don't do that stuff. Really bad for your finances and things. But ultimately, I guess you got to do what you got to do to survive. Incomestore.com. I do like it. I'm not going to do a search for it on SpyFu. I want to keep on moving on because it falls a little bit more brandable. But realistically, maybe you're selling business ideas. Could be a thing. Or maybe here's what we could do. Here's what we could do, domain to profit world. We can buy Incomestore.com, and we can create a subscription to where when we talk about these domain names, we bullet point out some 3-minute business plans, and then people can buy the plan or have access to the plan with a monthly subscription of $49.95, and then they can buy the domain name if they like the plan enough. Something like that. Sounds like a fun. So essentially, it's a store where they can buy an income or buy a potential income. I like that. I like that. Let's do that. Okay, Booty Bug. Ooh, I like this actually. This is I'm not sure where name.com would put it, but VerifyMy. Actually, one of the domain names I sold for pretty good money was Moving A. So the word moving, the letter A, movinga.com. So it could be anything. So movinga.com truck, movinga.com apartment, movinga.com house. But it was a domain hack that ended up selling for, I want to say, low 5 figures. It's not a reported sale, so this is the first time I think I've mentioned it. But VerifyMy falls into that realm. $27 currently, 5 days left in the auction. Verify my employees' work history, verify my whatever it is. So it's kind of a hack on an idea. You can put together some kind of investigative services maybe on it. More of a brand than anything else, but I do kind of like it. I'd be curious as to what everybody's ideas for Booty Bug would be. Yes, every guy in the world is 2 seconds away from turning into an 8th grader. Matt mentioned this one last week to me, usedhottubs.com. Why? Okay. 5 minutes left. So I like endless potential too. I love the positive simpleskills.com. Just pointing out some of the ones that, we're looking through this list, hundreds of domain names. Some of them pop. It needs to make complete sense to you. Don't go for one that just sounds like, oh, that sounds like it could be something. If it doesn't paint a picture, like used hot tubs, maybe it's a thing. One of the domain names I wanted to mention, I must have skipped it, was usedbuses.com. So used hot tubs made me think of it. Usedbuses.com, it may seem like a domain name doesn't matter, like the data, because I've not looked at it at all yet. So in the last couple minutes, used buses. So only, oh, still loading. Okay, 270 for 270 searches for used. Oh, we got some stuff happening here. This domain name is going up. I kind of had a hunch for this one. Use school buses for sale near me. Lots of camps, lots of churches and things. Use old school buses. 1,300 searches. Use buses for sale under three. Like, look at this. There's, if we do that Control F, used buses. You can see, boom, use buses for sale near me, use buses under 3,000. Like, there's something happening. This is a good domain name to access that market. Kind of a little weird. Ideally, you have some access. I don't know much about that industry. I will say this, though. $65 is the current bid. 4 days left on the auction. Do not bid this domain name until 5 minutes, 10 seconds left. You do not, this is an under the radar type of domain name. It might stay at 65 bucks all the way to the last minute. But if you start bidding, like I would put $300 on it, and you put $300 on it, most likely other people's proxy bids are going to bid that up to 300 bucks. Now it is getting more attention from domain investors. That domain is going to be out of your price range if you're trying to keep it at a reasonable value. So based on the SpyFu numbers here, I could see this domain name. So less than $1 per click. There are 9 active advertisers for that domain name. I see some pretty good similar search here. This domain name looks like it's going to be a $1,200, $1,400 domain name, according to the data here. It could go higher, could go lower, could be an opportunity for you, especially if you by chance want to sell old school buses. So there you go. Keep that in mind. I like that domain name. I wanted to mention that one because realistically, odd domain names can create the best opportunity for you. Odd domain names have created great opportunities for me. So, maybe that's the one. Maybe you have something to do with that already. With buses, or of something, I don't know, maybe you have some kind of access, or you're just kind of like, yeah, I could do that. Maybe I used to sell used cars, and used buses would be an interesting market to attack. Go for it. Do your thing. Do your research. Turn that into something other than what it is currently. So I'm just kind of looking over the chat a little bit. I was very curious to know if anybody would respond to give me some insight into the 801.com auction, but no one has yet. So you may want to follow me over on Twitter just to see what happens with that. I'm very curious, actually. I'm kind of curious as to what happened with 801.com. So let's do a little bit of a summary here just to wrap up this show. We just talked about usedbuses.com is one of my favorite domain names. You can see this one going for those low 4-figure price range. There's some good traffic there. I'm guessing it's not a very competitive keyword. I could be mistaken on that, but I'm guessing you could reach some traffic on this one. And one of the things about, even though used buses, as we saw in the traffic, it's looking at school buses. Buses, a lot of people refer to motor coaches as buses as well, which are those big commercial vehicles that sell for well over $100,000 a pop. So I know people that have sold those used buses, motor coaches, and there's some money in it. So VerifyMy, like that as a hack, $27, about 5 days left on that one. And that would be more of a verify my something, verify my employee's identity, verify my employee's drug bag, whatever it is. Create a service that helps people do the things that require verifying. Income Store, a good domain name. Not really a big fan of the development on it. Not sure what would go on it, but just wanted to bring it to you. It's part of the summary, one of the domains we looked at. Fashionmaker.com sounds like a fun way to get involved in the fashion industry. Could be just software where maybe you create an app where people can take a photo, put themselves and drop different outfits and let them see different styles, similar to the fashion doll thing that I mentioned my daughter plays with. Just swap in different fashion ideas, maybe charge money or take donations or whatever else, or just play. Access to that industry. Rentless.com looks like there's no trademark for it. Consult your attorney. But I do like that domain name from the idea of if you were to build a brand that is trying to either reduce people's rent or maybe you're trying to put people in homes to where you can be rentless because you have a mortgage instead. Things like that, you can do that with that domain name. That's the picture that is painted in my head when I think of rentless.com. Codingtools.com is an enom domain name, meaning it may not complete the auction. So certainly, as always, do not bid until the last 6 minutes or less of the auction. $55, 6 days left in that. It'll likely get pulled, but I do like that one from the idea of a directory of coding tools. Express Movers, mostly a brand. That one's a pretty good domain name just for investment standpoint. Gaming apps, another, was this an enom domain? I can't remember if this was an enom domain. I think it was, so like usual, wait to the last minute to bid. As you can see, others are not. Good domain name if you're going to do a directory of gaming apps and so on. Carpools.com, singular, appeared to be a little bit on the better side for this, but I do like Carpools. And there's only going to be 2 domain names for carpooling. Well, actually, okay, 3 domains, because carpooling.com would probably be my top choice, but Carpool and then Carpools. Those are going to be the 3 domain names. So even if it's third place is on the podium. So probably worth something if you wanted to put together something for Carpools. There you go. Ends in 4 days, currently under $1,000. Gaming Hub, I don't think we talked about this one. I think this is another enom one, but there you go. Organization of enom type things. So in addition to talking about those expiring domain names, those domains that are expiring this week. So if you're watching this on Restream, yeah, they're probably already gone, but hopefully there's lots of lessons in there that help you evaluate the domain names that are currently showing up on expireddomains.net when you go through looking for opportunities for yourself. In addition to that, we did talk about the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website, just showed you how to get to that a little bit. We also talked about NameBio.com, which is, they do have a free tool, but you can use this to look through what to say, 3.7 million sales logs of domain names. Great for determining the value of a domain name, especially if you're brand new to the domain name industry. And then, of course, SpyFu, which is the tool that we use each week to look through keyword and advertising data. So there we go. That's what we look for. Hopefully that's a good summary for you. I believe it is. I believe I brought some good domain name value for you as I try to each and every week. The reason being, domain names are what are going to allow us to do battle against Google, watch for the little guy, help battle for the little guy by getting the best domain names and developing them. Let's do this, peeps. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe this video. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Thank you to everybody in the community. I love all the interaction and chats. You're really missing out if you're watching on a live stream. Lots of great people, a lot of experience and many other perspectives coming into that community. Highly recommend you get on here, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, just a reminder, if by chance you are watching this live, it's probably going to be a recorded stream next week, or a recorded show that will show at 3 p.m. I'm torn. I'm still making that decision, but I just want you to know that there's a possibility of it. If not, if I'm there live, that is because I love you so much and I wanted to do everything in my power to get there, which I do. But at the same time, if there's one thing that is more important than this show, it's going to be my family, and that's going to be family time potentially. So I appreciate you. For many of you, I will see you in Austin for NamesCon this week. I will be doing development roundtables during the expert roundtables. So you can come during the lunch break on 2 of the days. And I'm just going to be there looking through domain names, talking about businesses and ways that you can develop out your properties and those domain names that are hidden in the back of your portfolio. It is not a session. It's truly hanging out with me at a round table, talking domain development. So please come say hi. I hope to see many of you there. Make sure you just like, hey, I'm this person in the chat and stuff. So, I'm going to try to do a good job on remembering everybody, but, I'm just a guy standing in a room right now talking to a camera, which I think of as you, but realistically, I want to meet you in person. So look forward to seeing you. All righty. See you next week, Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. And I will see you, hopefully, if not next week, the week after. Take care.